What's up, y'all? This is Throwing Light. I'm LTJ Reeves, and if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. I am like super looking so forward to this, even though this is like an interview that came together pretty quickly. I am absolutely excited about having Chris on here. Chris is your former Mr. GNI Leather 2022. That's Gay Naturist. Is it international?
Gay Naturist International, yeah.
And then you're runner up in IML 45.
Yeah.
But those are not the reasons that I wanted Chris on my show. I wanted Chris here because I generally like Chris. Chris is somebody that I'm excited to see. He's somebody I want to sit around and be around. I generally do. Like I could hang out with you all day. You're one person that I can sit up and post with and just watch you throw facial expressions and communicate everything. You can do some facial expressions.
Yeah.
And I love to look at you. I know somebody was saying something stupid to us one day, and you were just kind of looking at them, and I was like, Chris doesn't approve.
It's not always that I don't approve. I just question some things. You got to question some.
No, but but no, in general, I really enjoy your company, and I look forward to when I see you again. So what's going on over in Atlanta? We were just talking about it. What's up
Yeah.
over there?
Not much. There's some really we have some really cool events that are happening throughout the year. I'm still bartending every now and then. I'm still hosting some events. I'm working when I am bartending, I'm working primarily like some different like bear and leather events here and there. We have a really interesting leather community that is growing, and they're having actually there's a gear night tonight at the Atlanta Eagle that unfortunately I can't make because I have to go to sleep and I'm exhausted.
Nothing wrong
But
with that.
no, I know you got to protect your peace, baby. You got to protect your peace. But
Transparent.
yeah, so there's a lot going on. We have some really cool title holders that are coming out of Atlanta and some really cool and really inspiring leather elders and leaders in the community here that I'm really grateful to know and have in my corner and support. So, yeah, so there's a lot going on in Atlanta, a lot and a little.
It's somewhere I need to. It's been a minute, but I do need to come over there, and I want to bring Throwing Light over there,
Come on.
and it'll be a great spot. So I'm starting to do this national tour. Well, I'm doing a Texas tour of Throwing Light with live
Yeah,
panels, and so I'll move to doing national next year.
cool.
And so I mean ATL is a would be a perfect place for me to come. I just have to figure out when that is. Um,
You let me know. We'll get it set
so,
up.
okay. So what is the you kind of talked a little bit and shed on that. What is the Atlanta community like to you or from your experiences? Like, how where have you found your place in the community?
I can't really, so it's funny that you ask because I can't really say that I've found my place in the Atlanta leather community because I think there's so many different crossroads here. Um, I So when I first came to Atlanta, I pretty much only identified and participated with primarily the bear community here, which is really where my roots are in like kink and leather and everything. It's more so in the bear community before it was in the true and blue leather community. But that being said, I think that I haven't really found like my core because I'm somebody who really likes to go to a bunch of different events and really likes to support a bunch of different people. So I've kind of just found myself as someone who, being a bartender in Atlanta, has really kind of just set up shop as somebody who's in the community, part of the community, and for the community.
Yeah.
I'm really fortunate that when I go to these events here in Atlanta, I'm nine times out of ten, I'll know a few people at least. I'll know the presenters or the hosts of the event or the night or whatever. So I kind of feel like I fit into a bunch of different communities here in Atlanta. We've got Kink Down South, we've got Onyx, we've got the Southern Bears, we've got all different types of sports leagues that I met through Wolf's bartending there. And so there's this really eclectic uh, LGBTQIA plus community here. And then on top of that, Atlanta in and of itself is kind of this like queer, gay safe haven in the Southeast, right? So it's this really, really, really blue dot in a red state. And it's very easy and accessible for people to get here because of our airport and because you've got to take 85 to get anywhere through here. Like you gotta it's a place that's easily accessible that people come to. So it's a smorgasbord of a bunch of different people, and I'm really fortunate to have met a lot of people here. But I can't really say that I've like found my spot in the community because I feel like it's constantly changing.
Are there a lot more people of color in the community there?
Mm. What an interesting question. Yes and no. I think that there are a lot of really influential people of color in the community and a lot of people who call Atlanta home that are people of color that are in the community. But I still think that innately, and I might cut some flack for this, but I really don't care. I think that Atlanta is still really, really, really segregated.
Yeah, no, no, I believe that.
It's very interesting because, you know, the history of Atlanta is really weird because obviously the city was burned to the ground. There's a lot of history that is missing from Atlanta from back in the day when this was, terminus, right? It was the end of the railway system, and so there was a lot that was burned to the ground in terms of the history here. And so I think that there has been this shift of people trying to reclaim and remake the history and what Atlanta means to them. Um, and that's a really beautiful thing, right? Because the queer community and the LGBTQIA community is coming up and really setting grassroots here. We've got one of the biggest prides in the country. A lot of people come here because they feel safe here, from other, either red states, red counties, places that they don't necessarily feel like they can be themselves. But then we have a really, really, really strong Black and African American population here as well. And then if you go down Buford Highway, we have a lot of Vietnamese, Korean, Latin. Like Buford Highway is like the longest stretch of highway, I think, in the US that has like different pockets of neighborhoods of different ethnicities that have restaurants. And you can drive down Buford Highway and you can do a tour of all different types of cuisine. So it's really a melting pot, but Atlanta's so huge. The city limits are so huge that it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly where everybody is. But there are definitely some neighborhoods where you see people of a certain demographic, and then you go a few streets over, and then you see people of a completely different demographic. And even though they're a few streets over, they never really mix. And so
That
it's really interesting.
that plays into even like the deeper community, like the leather community, the segregation.
I think it does to an extent. I think that there are I think it's changing, right? I think that there's a lot of people in the community that are trying to bridge gaps between different groups that didn't necessarily affiliate with one another prior. So for example, like you can go to Onyx Night at Atlanta Eagle, right? There's not a lot of people who are not of color that are at the bar that night. So it's a very I don't know if it's necessarily because people feel like they just want to give them that space. I don't know if it's because people don't feel like they are comfortable there. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I haven't had those conversations with people to really figure that out. But I do think that there's still some sort of a divide in the community as to people identifying with other groups and not even necessarily identifying, but just socializing and being with other groups. But I do think it's changing. I think we have some people who definitely cross those, those lines. I think one of them, I mean, Tobias, like Tobias is here and Tobias is supporting every group that he can. Ray over at Barking Leather, which is our like leather store, which is right across the parking lot from the Eagle, is very supportive of all different groups that are here. Kink Down South, which is an organization that they have an event every single year now, and it's growing. It's becoming like I think their goal is that they want to become like the Folsom Dory of the Southeast type situation,
Yeah.
outdoor festival, classes, vendors, all of that. They are making a strong effort with a very strong board of people to make sure that people feel represented in their programming, in their marketing, and everything. So again, kind of going back to your point before, like I haven't found my spot in Atlanta because I'm trying to go to all of these different events. I will be honest, I haven't been to an Onyx night in a while because a lot of this just doesn't work with my schedule. A lot of times it doesn't work with my schedule, but there are things about Atlanta and events in Atlanta that I try to go to try to support. And I'm lucky that I teach every single year at Kink Down South. So I get a lot of people in my class and my social that kind of cross all those different demographics. So it's very interesting. It's still very segregated, but I think it's moving in the right direction.
So you would say you're a floater,
I'm
you're,
Florida.
yeah. So okay, so it's interesting. Over here in Texas, I try to like step out and look in at us, and I
Mhm.
really do see us trying. I really do. Um, and it's weird because it's really hard. I came from Louisiana where the tension was just like purely black white. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Louisiana has one of the highest black populations in the country.
Yeah.
And I saw what racism did, like, for white men, black men were fetishized,
Yeah.
but that's all there was. I only knew about 3 or 4 Hispanics. We did not have a lot of Hispanics
In
uh
Louisiana?
in North Louisiana. And yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And Monroe. No, there was this cute girl I liked and her brother. And then there was this kid that used to do like, what's that when you get on your head and spin around with your legs in the air? I don't know. Some dance
Wow.
move. I don't
I
know.
don't
That's
know.
all
That sounds, I mean, that sounds crazy, but I don't know.
it was like that dance you do, and then you like spin on your head, which I don't know. Anyways, but
Oh, like
the point
B-boying?
of
Like,
it is that when I moved to Texas, I had so much anxiety being a black person in Monroe. It was just anxiety. Get up, go outside, hope something racist doesn't affect you. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? Because it's okay, it's the norm. You know what I'm saying, like that. But when I came to Texas, I felt this distraction. I know it's a weird thing to say, but there's a large Hispanic population, and a lot of the tension is breakdancing. Someone just put it,
yeah.
breakdancing,
B-boy, yeah, B-boying,
Electra
breakdancing.
Boogaloo or whatever that movie is.
Yeah.
So it's very white and brown people, and black people are here. Black culture isn't as prevalent as you go to Louisiana, and hip hop and African and all that influences even white people. So
I
like,
think that that's, but I think that that also, I think it changes. I mean, Texas is huge, but I think that like, as somebody who travels a lot, like Houston, for example, has a really strong black
yeah,
population.
yeah,
And
yeah,
like, and their black culture is very strong and very empowered
yeah.
and very lively. Like, I think that it really just depends because I came from Orlando and it was pretty much all Hispanic and island, right? So like that's where I grew up, but I was born outside of DC, moved inside of DC and outside of DC. So like black culture was very prevalent there. I felt like a minority being Hispanic in my, in my little area that I was. And then moving to Orlando, I was like, oh, there's tons of people that look like me, sound like me, their families cook like mine. Like it was that culture was there. And then I came to Atlanta. Well, I went to North Carolina in between all that. But
Mhm.
then and then I came to Atlanta and it was totally different.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. And it's just like, but I haven't really figured out like where Black culture is in Austin, particularly. And there are a lot of Black people involved, and I don't know. It seems like such a different dynamic here. It's kind of like kind of trying to find a place, but I do see, Austin, the Austin Eagle, our groups here, trying to be as progressive
Mm,
in our representation as possible. Like, and I'll tell you something about Texas, man. Some of us are more dramatic than others. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But every city is got struggles. Some get along better in other cities than others.
yeah.
Um, but we are good at like showing up, like because you have to look like you can get to any major city in Texas within about 2.5 hours. Like I can go to Houston in 2.5 hours. I can shoot over to Dallas in 2.5. I can be in San Antonio in an hour and a half. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So we can really, and then Texas is a car state. Like we don't have public transportation to rely on. We
Right.
can't take a train. Like we could, but it's not going to be a fast train.
Right.
And so um it's just like I can imagine how much time the average Texan or the average Houstonian spends in their car because you spend so much time driving in Texas. But yeah, I mean, I get texts all the time. Hey, you're going to be at this event or whatever. I'll be like, hey, I'm going to be in Houston. But if you watch me, we're in
Yeah, yeah.
popping up in these cities every month. I'm in a different Texas city for sure.
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it's family. It really is. But I think that we all feel the urgency because we're in such a like we are in the asshole state of states. And kind of like it's, Texas versus California, that energy. Like,
Mhm.
both arrogant in different reasons. Like, like Texas is super arrogant. And
I wouldn't say arrogant. I would say prideful. I think arrogance breeds an air of something that is negative. And to be completely honest, of the title holders that I know, I mean, here's my thing, right? Like everyone is going to say something about a title holder or whatever, about how their experience with them or whatever. But I think the title holders in and of themselves and people from the community that hold some sort of leadership role or whatever, I think that they innately have to be prideful because I mean, this is not title holding is not for the weak. You're constantly under the microscope, you're constantly being asked questions, you're constantly being pulled this way to be told this thing about this person, and then moving over here, and then being told the complete opposite, and then sitting from afar and watching everything unfold on Facebook. And it's just like, and you have to know, and this was a lesson that I had to take during my year. You have to know and learn when to like just sit down and shut up sometimes. Because a lot of times your pride can get in the way, but I don't see it as arrogance. I think arrogance would assume or imply that I think I'm better than, but I
no, I'm
think
not
it's,
talking about our leather community. I'm talking about our leaders, our politicians.
oh,
Yeah, no, and so
okay,
no, we have some of the biggest sweet. I'm like people care.
they
they'll
do.
see us. They really do care. The only things, I mean, every community has their problems and their problematic people, and you put that aside. I mean, just look at it. I've been doing the Texas tour for Throwing Light. We've done 3 cities. I've gone to Dallas, San Antonio, and we did Austin. I'm going to be in Houston this weekend and then RGV. And like the willingness to put these panels together and all these panels are going to inspire people, but I've gotten to meet a lot of people in the community I never worked with before through this
Yeah.
process. And just having these new links has been amazing. I think that we are moving with a sense of urgency. I am. I know that I'm trying to get the people in my corner just because, when I go back to kind of like Texas, just how Texas treats people, especially us. It's just exhausting and it's over the top and unnecessary. But like we have a mini Trump, as our governor, and he thinks he's going to get a third term, all these types of things. He does not care. I think he really is like the epitome of a Napoleon complex
Mm.
that you could ever have. But politics is a whole other thing, and I hate it. I think it's stupid that our identities are even having to be like we shouldn't. I don't know. It's really, really some poor conversations having that. Like we just there's no way to create a dialogue in which like the basic American can speak into because just like you got people that claim everything's fake news and this and that. It's ridiculous. So I put my next question comes to this, okay?
Okay.
I want to get into like what more like your feelings were as you move post IML and what you planned on doing. But I want to ask you this, like, how do you see with things that are going on and on a bigger scale, like what do you see as necessary like moves or attitudes that we need to have to kind of move together
Mhm.
because as you mentioned, there's so many divides in the community, you know what I'm saying?
Right, right. Um, I think that, oh boy, I think that there's a lot of different ways to go about it, right? I think that in some ways, with everything that's going on right now, part of me wants to run, part of me wants to escape, part of me wants to leave because I'll be completely honest, the past 3 years have been some of the hardest like moments in my life. Um, my dad passed last year, um, and we dealt with that for a while. Not a while, it was very sudden him passing, but he passed from COVID. And so it really changed my mind and shifted my thinking in regards to what I have to deal with. It made me take a step away from the leather community completely.
Mm,
And it was for the better. I think for myself, at least during that time frame, I needed to focus on my family. I needed to focus on me. I needed to focus on the things that brought me joy. And I had noticed that leather and that community wasn't necessarily bringing me joy at that time. I think that, mind you, I'm a competitive bitch. Like I am very competitive, but I think that in competing at IML, I lost a little bit of the joy of the community
understood.
that I had found previously. And I focused so much on that, and I focused so much on projecting this persona of who I thought people wanted to see when I was traveling and when I was doing all of these things. Not to say that I wasn't necessarily myself, I was myself, but there were aspects that came out and traits that came out during traveling for that year that they didn't align with who I was.
Yeah.
And so in that, and then finding that I was spending so much time traveling and judging and teaching. I mean, I did like 36 events in 1 year, judging and teaching, and it was just wild. And in doing that, I realized that I had lost a really strong connection with my father. And so between that happening and then the current administration where we're at, it's scary because I really felt like I had lost myself. So I think what people need to do first and foremost, and this is coming from someone who like, who am I to be giving this advice, right? But I think that if there's anything that I took from the past at least year and a half was if you can take a step back, take a look at yourself, and truly believe that you have done everything you can to bring joy to yourself and focus on yourself and take care of your mental health, like you were talking about. If you can take that step back and say, yes, I've done all that, you're in a great position. Because right now, we kind of also have to be a little selfish because the more that we fight, the more that we show up, the more that we have our boots hitting the ground, I think people are going to burn out. And I think we're going to lose a lot of the people that are there taking care of us right now, the people that are fighting for us right now, the people that are on Capitol Hill, that are at the Capitol in Texas, that are doing stuff in Atlanta and canvassing for our, I think there are people who just they're going to eventually burn out. And I hate to say that because I don't want to think that that's going to happen, but it happens, right? Like I was a theater and dance instructor. I had my theater and dance company for 10 years. And after 10 years of grinding, I burned out and I left. And so I really had to take a step back. And I think that that's what a lot of people have to do right now. Like we're all fighting for the good fight, right? We want our country to be better. We want us to get better. But the first thing that we have to do is make sure that we have essentially a contingency plan. Like we have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. Are you, you know, are you finding times to be active? Are you hydrating? Are you taking care of your mental health? Are you sleeping right? Are you talking and socializing with your friends? Are you, these are things that are like at the core of our health, our mental health and holistic health. And so from there, then we can put our best foot forward and we can fight. But if we don't have those building blocks, if we don't have that support system, everything else is going to crumble. And that's what I noticed after IML for me was like things were starting to crumble.
So
And
you had to take a break. You took a break because
I did.
people take breaks for things. And I think that's so important to hit on that. You had to do what was good for you. And
Yeah.
like I tell people, I said, I'm trying my best to give 50% to the community and 50% of myself. But like, even in this moment, I'm like, I'm not giving enough time to myself. And I think that's so important for people to know that. And because I don't know, I think that this is what I admitted, and I did this when I did my panel in Austin, and I've heard some things a lot from cis gay men in terms of wanting the presence of trans people and women in their venues. I've only done this 3 cities, and I've heard opinions, and I've
Hmm.
heard things that I did not like that were said in terms about what gay men don't want and not wanting trans people and not wanting women in there. I admitted to the community. I said, you know what? Life is short. I can't fight that battle by myself. Like, if you guys want to push in, I said the best thing I can do for the community is create new spaces. I said, I want integration just as much as anybody else, but it's so weird to even use that word. I want integration. But is integration going to happen today? No. Is it going to happen tomorrow? No. Will it happen while I'm alive? I don't know. I'm a bridge. I am meant to just move us, but I can only do so much. And I admitted that I am tired, okay? And I
It's
have to get up and be like, Lewis, if you don't do this, who else is going to do it? I have to constantly fight with that in my head because you hope people can learn and pick up. And I do see, I've definitely started to notice in the past couple of months, people that I'm inspiring, and they're starting to emulate me a little bit. And, people would get upset and be like, oh, these people are copying me, this and that. But I'm like, you know, until recently, like the feelings that you've even talked about, until recently it hit me that I'm doing the best I can, that I'm making an impact. When I walk into a room, people light up. That's all I could ever ask for. To walk in a room and people be excited that I walk into a room.
But you know what, too? That's what people don't talk about. I was when I used to teach dance, I used to tell one of my favorite drag queens, Alyssa Edwards from Texas, like
Yeah.
she very famously said to her kids on one of the shows that she had on Netflix about her like dance studio or whatever.
Yeah, I saw it.
said- she said, winning isn't everything, but wanting to is. And I think that that has driven me to be a better educator and like inspire other people because I'm like, look, you don't have to be a title holder to do the work.
Yeah.
Frankly, you might not want to be a title holder to do the work because
To
you've
be
got
real.
other, especially if you're on the IML track, IMBB track, IMSL, whatever, you've got other things that you have to also focus on throughout your year that are going to have to take some sort of priority, especially if you sign a contract with your producing title like your producers. But I think that you said it best, like I'm doing the best that I can. That's all people are asking for. They might not be like verbally asking for it, but people just want people to do their best. And I don't think that it's a bad thing to ask somebody to just put their best foot forward.
Yeah.
Put your best foot forward that it is today. It doesn't have to be the same as yesterday. It doesn't have to be as good as it is tomorrow. I just need you to put your best foot forward today. And that's all that it is. And I think
I
that
feel so
a
many
lot of
title
people
holders go into and they just don't ask that. They just take the position and feel like they can't ask for help. They have to be perfect. Like without like they don't allow themselves to be like human
human.
and wanting to learn. Like I tell everybody, everybody gets becomes a title holder at different stages of their life.
Hmm.
I happen to get mine at the very beginning. So,
Hmm.
I went to IML just forming an identity. You know what I'm saying? Not cooked. Um,
Which is
do I
crazy too, because
wish?
that's such a like formative experience too. Like
Yeah,
that's crazy to go at the beginning of your like
I know.
journey.
And it's like, you know, do I wish I could have gone and prepared as much as I need? Yeah, but like I have to go back and look at the experience and say, like, I wanted to be memorable. And I don't know. We're here almost 2 years later, and I didn't make podium. I didn't make top 20, but I got contestant number one. I tell this so much, like that just defined my experience and what it was. I wanted to be seen, I wanted to be respected, and I wanted people to work with me. And I got all of that. And then a year later, I'm sitting on a panel at IML. Like, Chris, people get wrapped up in their placements. They really do.
I
And
know.
I really hate it when I see like guys are in their 20s upset because they didn't place at IML, and that's going to be the biggest thing of their entire life. IML's big. It's a big deal.
It
Not a
is.
lot of people get to do this. You've done it now, and now you're in your post life. I've done it. I'm in my post life. We take that experience and we take it with us and we move forward and use it to build on. And you have some people that are just stuck in the experience, and for some reason they think that you hear this wuzzy thing, like that's your decision if you want to fade in the background or not. It has nothing to do with you
And you
being
know
title.
what though? But you know what though? Some people, and I say this with all the love of my heart, some people need to.
Yeah.
Some people I feel have truly given their all to this community, and they deserve a rest. Like
No, sure.
they deserve a strong retirement where they can be just be. Like I think that I think that the more and more that people think that younger folks can't do the work, then we're going to get into this nasty gatekeeping situation in the community. And I am one who fully believes that you can still respect your elders, learn from your elders, and grow from the advice and the love that they give you. But there's also a time where that elder and that mentor then takes a step forward and you step into a role because eventually there's going to be a mentee coming behind you as well that is going to want to do the work. So I think that it's a interesting place where like when does that happen in your lifetime? Like because for me, GNI is very like we only meet once a year, right? So your title is a camp title. It's an international camp title, but you are meeting once a year. You don't see those people again until the following year, essentially. So it really is a handoff. Like when Mark handed it off to me, he goes, "Okay, here you go." When I handed it off to David, I said, "Okay, here you go." And I even told David, I said, and I love him so much. Like we've grown as a family together so much, him and and it just, I love him. But I told him, I said, I don't want you to go into IML thinking anything about how I placed because he even told me at one point, he was like, well, it's like kind of nerve-wracking being your stash son because of what you did on stage and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, right, but like that happens every year to somebody in the class, right? There's going to be 3 people on podium, 20 people in top 20, and everyone is gonna have that like looming like, ooh, like I hope I do as well as my like Sash parent did or whatever. But I said, but you also have to let go of all of that and just enjoy the experience. Because I went into IML, I was like, I knew I wasn't gonna win. I flat out knew I was not gonna win. I am not and was not the like picture of what IML is. But my goal was that I wanted to prove to them that I could be. I wasn't going to be, but I wanted to prove to them that I could be with my heart, with my passion, with to win the splits on stage, like whatever. Like it was like I wanted to put my best foot forward. And I feel like as long as you go into that and you go into your title year saying that you want to do the best that you can, that's all that matters. Like you can consider that a success. Like who cares about IML in the grand scheme of things and where you place? Like did you do your title year for you or did you do it for someone else?
I mean, that's look, that's the thing. I can't say I'm like innocent of that. You know what I'm saying? Because there was no template. I was the first. And look,
Yeah.
just think about all the novice energy I had. So, but the thing is that, I was less happy when I was a title holder than I am now. I think what I
Mhm.
was trying to get at now is that I don't get pressed because I,
Yeah.
I know I'm doing stuff. You say I just
Yeah.
don't get pressed. I'm just like,
You have your own agenda, you're doing your own thing.
yeah.
That's yeah.
And it worked. It's working. Like I don't need to bitch about anything. I don't have a reason to bitch except for people fighting. That's about it. Infighting.
Right.
That's the only thing I'll bitch about. Or not being direct. Um, but that's just more Texas drama. We won't bring that up here. Um,
Well, look, y'all
we could
y'all are very prideful. I'll say that.
we are prideful. We are. It's just a big old. It's a family, and we have to navigate a lot of different energies. And like I said, it's just just getting past people that are in this for the wrong reasons. I'm not going to get past someone in my community. I'm not going to work. This is what I tell everybody. We don't, it's impossible to say that we all can individually work with everybody. There's just some people you're not going to be able to work with. And I tell everybody, look, if I can't work with this person, have at it if you can, if we can move forward together. But if I hear that you're bullying people, if I hear that you're doing a lot of suspicious, like, I am going to actually go up to you because in Texas, because I can't avoid these people. Chris, there are people I'm not going to say that I don't talk to when I walk in the room because I don't like them, but there are people I love. We have to still coexist. And
Yeah.
I want to be mature so I don't get reprimanded by Tobias or somebody. Okay,
Mhm.
I try to be mature. I don't always want to be, but I don't need him telling me I need to apologize because he's done that before. So like,
I think I
so,
think I think the bias has told everybody once in their lifetime that they need to apologize. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
really don't
that
want to be. I don't want to be told I need to apologize. But the point of the matter is that I am tough love, and I can't apologize for that after going through IML, after meeting these amazing elders that have been in this community for decades and given their life and sacrificed so much. I have to look. I do take it seriously, but I've learned how to have fun, Chris. And
hmm
it took a bit. It took a bit. It took a bit. But I'm getting in that place where I'm like, I can shrug stuff off now. Oh, this person's talking about me. That's all right. I'll see him when I see him. That type of it's
yeah.
just
And like and I mean you and I have known each other long enough now to like that's kind of my MO too now when I go to events. I'm like, I'm here for me. Like
yeah.
I'm here to enjoy myself. And the other thing
And
that I
other
think,
people. Enjoy other people,
yeah, but I think enjoy what I'm putting forward, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
for me, the other thing is too, like I think something that was really formative in my leather experience is that I have never ever in my leather journey been able to buy anything off the rack from any leather maker. So I said, well, shit, if I'm going to be spending a shit ton of money on leather, I'm going to make sure that it's something that I want that's going to stand out as something that is unique, right? So like I have my green jumpsuit that people always comment on that are like, "Oh my God, I want that." I'm like, "Baby, you can have it. Nobody's telling you to go buy shit off the rack. Have fun with your leather. Have fun with your expression." Like I think that's what a lot of people are forgetting is that this can still be fun. Like being in leather and being part of the community can still be fun. It doesn't have to be so serious all the time.
And I think that's the title. That's a title holder mistake, though. I took it super seriously, like super serious, and I get frustrated when I didn't get the turnout at events that I expected. I kept questioning if people were taking me serious. Like there was so many ups and downs, and I almost quit twice, and so I had to
Mhm.
be talked off of that ledge. Like you know what I'm saying? Because I just didn't know. But like once you know like it's just
What made you not quit?
um well one, I was the first, but I would talk to Luis about it every time. Every time I was about to jump off the ledge, I would just talk to Luis and need to express what I thought reality was and be told what reality actually was. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
I needed to stop making enemies or conflicts in my head.
mm,
And by talking that out and be in a firm like, no, Lewis, yes, people appreciate. Yes, people are doing this. I had to learn that I can't criticize how someone shows up, except if they're calling out to make spectacle. I won't get
mm.
behind that. I believe I think the thing is calling people in. So, you know, then I'm in therapy. Maybe that's helped a good bit too.
Honestly,
But
more people need to be in therapy.
we need but at the same time I've worked so hard and I've been given so much fruit favoritism. I can reach out, like I'm sitting at the table, like I don't need to I've proven myself. The work has been shown, the effort clocked in, everyone sees what I can do, what I'm capable of. I'm here. I'm
Mhm.
here, Chris. I can't, I'm where I want to be. And I'm still going. So I think for me and what I would want people to know is that just do the work. Just do the work. Just do the work. And next thing you know, you'll go from like hoping that one of your mentors will give you the time of day to your mentors in your DM saying, Lewis, do this, Lewis, don't do that. Like you'll get there if that's what you want. And but I love so much because I feel like me and Chris had a little bit of different post-IML experiences. I love the fact that you advocated for taking a break if you need to take a break, but you return. And that's the thing. I think people don't think they can go and come back. Like, can take a break, get yourself, but so many people do that. And I don't think we talk
Yeah.
about that a lot. I'm glad
Yeah.
that we had this conversation because we don't talk about that. And a lot of people do. I hear people like, oh, yeah, I was in the community back in 2015. Then, life
FOM.
happened. And after COVID, I came back in 2022. Like, hey, it is
But
what it
also
is.
I think that we need to paint it to be okay to come back into the community and not feel pressured to be the person that you were when you left the community.
That too.
Because like I'm not the same. I'm the same Chris, but I'm different in the way that I approach things now. I always knew, and it's funny because people would always tell me I always felt like I wasn't doing enough in the community. I always felt like I wasn't doing enough fundraising or I wasn't doing enough events or whatever. Um, but people always told me that me showing up was part of doing the work. And showing up and being my authentic self was showing people that a big brown boy who, in at all odds, should not have ended up on podium, but did, deserves to be a part of this community the same way that someone who looks exactly like one of Tom of Finland's drawings deserves to be part of the community. And so when people started telling me that, and I started hearing that over and over and over, I told myself, well, I need to keep showing up. I need to keep showing up. I need to keep showing up. And then I got burned out.
Mhm.
And then I told myself, whoa, like I'm missing out on some really formative time with like my parents and my siblings and my friends from back home that I felt like I wasn't connecting with them anymore. Like I felt like I didn't have a support system in Atlanta anymore because I felt like that had become my primary persona was all of that.
Yeah,
And then being able to take a break and say, I can still be part of this community, show up when I'm able to.
there you go. You're right.
That was the part that I was missing.
You're right.
You don't have to show up all the time.
You're
But
right.
showing up when you're able to, when you feel like your glass is full, that's what's important. And so I show up when my glass is full. And I'll be honest, my glass has not been full as often as some other people. And that's okay because you know what? I know that for a long time I did the work. When I was World Cub in 2019 and 2020, like I did the work. I was busting my ass during COVID to teach online. I was having weekly yoga classes that I was hosting just so people had a space to exist. I was hosting naked socials at different events for people to just be in their body in a space that was not sexual, that was allowing them to just be free. And like I said, you know what? I said, this is my shtick. Like, this is what I'm doing. And I did that. And I still have people to this day like that will show up to my yoga. If I say I'm hosting a yoga class, they're there. They're there. At TBRU, I had close to, I think over 3 classes, I had like 200 people show up at TBRU. At Kink Down South, I had this past time, I think I had 60 people show up to my class. Like my classes are some of the most well attended events at some of these events. And I sometimes I wonder to myself, like, who am I to be drawing these people? But maybe it's just because I'm trying to hand off the lessons that I've learned through honestly some mistakes that I've made and some uh oof. I'm trying to hand it off to them. And I think that it's important that people realize that it's okay to make a mistake, to step away and come back. It's okay to admit that you're wrong sometimes and come back. But it's also okay to stand your ground sometimes and say, no, this is what I believe in and this needs to happen. And so everyone's navigating the world differently, but we're all navigating the world for the first time.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like, I remember being so angry at my parents all the time growing up because I felt like, how dare they do this? Blah, blah, blah. And now I'm 33 and I'm thinking to myself, damn, like I was the firstborn child. They weren't parents before.
Yeah.
So they
That
were navigating being parents the same way that I was navigating being a child and coming up and learning all of these new things and forming my identity. And now, I realize that everyone's navigating this world for the first time and no one knows how to do this right, you
I was
know?
a baby and my mom had become a better mother, which she had.
Yeah.
She had my two sisters relatively young, and I have a 14 and 10-year gap for my sisters.
Oh, wow.
So, and I'm the baby, and I'm also a boy. So, like,
But raised totally different.
I
Yeah.
was treated differently. I was, and that was a point of tension sometimes between my sisters. All right, Chris, we're down to the last question, and
Okay.
this is your question. Is there any aspect of our community that you think that is important that we're not shedding enough light on?
Any aspect of our community that I think is important that we're not shedding enough light on.
Element, groups, anything?
That is a very complex question. Because I think that in the way that like leather and kink come together, I think there's lots of groups that are not getting as much exposure. Kink wise, for example, like the baiter community, which I'm a part of, like that's not they're not really given as much space, and it's kind of seen as like, oh, like, well, that's not really what I'm into, so therefore I'm just gonna push you aside. Whereas like the pup community, for example, and the pet community has really been like kind of embraced by the leather community and leather and kink community, and now they're being given more spaces and so on and so. So I think that like naturally a lot of these groups are gonna start coming up and coming into these spaces, and we're going to have to create these spaces for them to exist in this spectrum of leather and kink that we're all trying to navigate. So I think that realistically, any group that's not at the forefront really needs to be really needs to be highlighted. Um, but I think that also something that I have been very passionate about since I started in this community is kink leather education. I think that education in and of itself is learning about our history allows us to not repeat it sometimes. And if we choose to operate in the space of ignorance, because we truly only choose that, the knowledge is there, the education is there, but if we choose to operate in a space of ignorance, we're never truly going to grow as a community because people are going to have their blinders up and not want to open their eyes to what's truly around them. And I think that through, for example, Onyx Education, Titans of the Midwest, Kink Down South, all of these Claw, all of these events that have education at the forefront, it's really important because we also have to remember that there are people in smaller communities that don't have the exposure that some of us in bigger cities have. And so their 1 hour class on a bondage class or their 1 hour class on flogging could be their intro into finding out where they belong in this space. I mean, I've been to, at World Bear and North American Bear, there are, there's really big attendance from the pet communities. pet and handler communities at these events. And I will say I am not a handler and I am not a pet. Like either one, but I love going to the moshes because to see people who just get into that headspace and let loose, you don't know. That might be someone's first time going to a mosh and they might be like, "Oh my God, these are my people. This is where I feel at home." And then there's a panel right after that to talk about care for your hood, where to buy a hood, what are the different aspects of being a pony, a pup, whatever. Like I think that those aspects of education are really important because without that education, we're just kind of going around in circles. And it's a lot of lore, right? Like, I think education in the kink and leather community is a lot of lore. People who feel like they've mastered something and they want to hand down that knowledge. There's no like rule book on how to do all of this stuff, right? But I think that in sharing our knowledge and having conversations and having these roundtable discussions, it's really important because anybody can go to IML or MAL to fuck, but are like what other aspect of your weekend are you engaging? Like anybody can go and find sex at any of these events. Anyone, literally anyone.
I
But
barely
if
even
you,
talk about it, to be honest with you.
huh?
I barely even talk about any, like, you know how many times I've been invited to dungeons and I'm just like,
I don't
no,
want to go.
I'm not gonna go.
I don't want to go. Yeah, but that's what I'm
And I
saying.
try to be, like I said, I do what you want to do, but that's not where I want to be.
But that's the other thing too. Like I could literally toss a dart and find another orgy or another whatever, like anything happening at those events. But what am I really there for? I think that there are people that are there that are just trying to make a connection, or
True.
people who are truly just trying to learn a different aspect of their kink and their leather journey. And I don't think that that is given enough space. I don't think that education is given enough space. And I think that education needs to be elevated a little bit more at these events.
I agree with you 100%, Chris. So check it out. There's one thing left for you to do. You got to close this show out. Before we do that, no, you're going to do this first, and then I'll close the show out. All
Okay.
right, Chris, I'm going to count to three. When I get to three, you're going to say, if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right.
You're not throwing light, you're not acting right. Okay.
Ready?
All right.
One, two, three.
You're not throwing light, you're not acting right.
He did with such a cute face, too. Chris, thank you so much for being on Throwing Light. This was just time flew by.
A year in the making.
We finally got here. I wonder how long it's going to take me to get you back.
I know, right? I know. We'll be back. We'll be
We'll
back.
see. We'll be back. She, I'm gonna be hitting 200 episodes next year. We'll see.
That's amazing.
Okay, so that's it, y'all. Thank you, Chris, for being throwing light, y'all. That has been another episode. So we're gonna go. Bye.